Joyce and I put 8,400 miles on our little camper in one trip this spring. And when I was in Nebraska, I came across some cottonwood, which we don't have here in Maine at all. And I decided to grab a branch that it was from a fallen tree, but there was still some leaves on the end of it. So it's dry, but it's not rotten. And thought I might cut it open to see if it might be a possibility to make a lure from it. And I've also, on the way back, we were on the shores of Lake Michigan, in Michigan, of course, and came across these. I had this idea. On the beach we were at Lake Michigan, the shoreline was littered with these tiny shells. And I thought, wouldn't it be great to take this cottonwood and somehow be able to incorporate these shells into sort of an organic lure. And thus was born what probably will be a pretty bad idea. So I've cut these up into potentially usable lengths, and I find that there's a brown pith on the inside, but I think it's okay. It's just some brown piece of wood on the inside. The bark's pretty thick, so I don't know how much usable wood is going to be left afterwards. I'm going to see if I can't freehand draw something on here and then cut it out, see if we can get rid of most of this bark on the corners. I almost see a bait in there. So let's... if I get the nose here and taper it, and then we get a slender body, something like that in the back. And I don't know. Well, we've got a pretty good profile. There's the top and there's the side. I think I'm just going to stay on the sander here and try taking down the edges and see what I can get. It's really interesting starting from a round piece of wood with bark on it and kind of gnarly on the sides, trying to get something symmetrical. Just I don't know if there's any measuring that can be done here. It's going to be more like a freehand thing and eyeballing it. Well, I think we've got it. There it is right there. Bottom, side, other side. I really like the grain on this side. The only thing is, it's only one-sided. So I am going to paint it, but if both sides were like this, I might consider leaving it natural, but not the way it is, because the other side is just white. So we have this sort of torpedo shape. Couldn't do too much with it because I had to get that bark off, and it was a small piece of wood. So we have a small bait coming up here. we've got the 3 holes drilled for the eye loop and hooks, and 2 holes for lead. I have to admit, I've never worked with this wood. When I was sanding it, it seemed to be had to put a little more effort into it. But I considered it's not a heavy wood, and it's sort of pine-like, maybe a little bit harder. But drilling with my Forstner bits for the lead holes, and I'll admit that, my Forstner bits need sharpening. But boy, that was hard to drill through. And I know it's a heartwood because it's the center of a branch, but boy, this is pretty hard wood, even though it doesn't feel it when you're holding it in your hand. Go through all of them just to get two that are half decent. Never put shells on a lure, even wondering whether these would look good with a shell. But that's what I wanted to do with this one. I can always make one without a shell at some point if I want to, so it doesn't really matter. So, here, take a look. Well, I'm about to try this little organic lure and wondering how it's going to go with the clamshell sticking out in the side and all. Nice action. It sinks a little bit more than I thought. The weight of the UV resin afterwards, I think. Give it a shot. Well, this one's going to be a keeper. It works really good, for sure.